PharmaPhobic is powered by Achieve the Lifestyle, a company dedicated to helping you empower your health, redefine your lifestyle, and all for the health of it. You're listening to PharmaPhobic, where we challenge the state of health in America. I'm Janie, a physician assistant, and I've seen how healthcare keeps people dependent instead of truly healthy.
And I'm Dan, a veteran turned fitness pro here to uncover the truth and explore simple and sustainable health solutions. From big pharma to big food, we're exposing the conflicts of interest keeping us sick and finding better ways to take back our health.
No fluff, no gimmicks, just real talk, real solutions, and a little bit of fun along the way.
Hello there, guys.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of PharmaPhobic, powered by Achieve the Lifestyle, where we help you become the strongest, healthiest,
Most capable.
version of yourself. There you go. I'm training Janie, guys, to be able to do the
I like
intro.
to say most healthiest.
Most healthiest version of yourself. Okay. We're going to go right into this, guys. Today, we have a health variety show, Oprah style, minus the Illuminati. You know how we do it, okay? I'm going to go right. Why are you shaking your head?
Because it's just cheesy.
But listen, you guys should look into this stuff. Illuminati's real, y'all, okay? And they're all over your health.
And if we aren't here next week because Dan just said that, no, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I value my life. I don't feel like Epstein or any of these people. I value my life very much. So if you don't see us, you know what happened, guys. Anyway, let's get into this. News, health news right off the bat. First topic. I thank you for those wonderful, wonderful ambient noises there.
You're welcome.
Ad-libs.
I'm here for you, Dan.
You know, we might turn this podcast into a Young Jeezy song where you say something be like, yeah. Everybody remember Young Jeezy, or is it too old? Am I showing my age right now? Because this is like early 2000s. So everything's yeah behind her, Little John.
Yeah.
Anyway, Janie just
it.
interjected Young Jeezy style with the newsflash noise. Okay.
I feel that was maybe the least gangster sound I could have made.
Well,
go on.
This thing that I found out the other day, yesterday, and I had it written in my notebook, but I was going through old notes because sometimes we come in with an outline for a podcast and then we don't get to certain topics. We go off on something. And so we've been collecting topics and we're going to try to get through them today in this health variety show, Oprah style, minus Illuminati. Anyway, leading cause of bankruptcy in the U.S. Janie?
I'm going to say healthcare. We did talk about it this morning, but I knew it because I read a book that talked about it.
Yep.
It's escaping me right now, but
health care debt. So medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcy in the U.S. 66% of the cases of people that go bankrupt, it's due to medical expenses that they can't pay. Think about that for a second. That is a wild figure. That's crazy. 66%. I mean, that is a lot of people that end up broke because of medical expenses. Now, things that come to mind that could be really expensive. Cancer, usually one of them. When you get put on chemo, chemo, $1,500 a pop. And depending on what kind of cancer you have, you might need 4 or 5 treatments a week for however many days.
Autoimmune issues, so like rheumatoid arthritis.
That's one.
Ulcerative colitis.
Isn't the drug for rheumatoid arthritis like $2,000 a month or something?
Humira. It's very expensive.
Yeah, so there's one for you. Then you start talking about Crohn's. You were saying GI issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are pretty expensive as well.
Also, something I've been seeing a lot lately where the cost is really high, Parkinson's and dementia.
Oof.
Those two medications, especially the newer ones, I was just looking at this medication that's used for Parkinson's and also restless leg syndrome, but it's in a patch form, so it does not as sedating, because if anyone's ever taken a medication for restless leg syndrome, it's very sedating, which is great if your symptoms only bother you before bed. It's a patch, and I looked it up because it's not generic, it's still under patent. It's
Which
$900 for a month supply
weedy woo
with a discount.
wow.
So
Then don't start thinking about people that are paying out of pocket for the GLPs and stuff now. It is insane. And when you start thinking about why the medications are so expensive, which is where you naturally go to, you got to look at the patent process and when pharmaceutical companies hold medications in patent versus when the patent expires and then they become generic, and that's when the price actually drops. And so you have to look at that whole process, and then you have to look at how, when it's about to fall out of patent, they start saying, oh, this medication helps with this. And then you get a renewed patent, and now you can extend the amount of time that you can charge out the wazoo for the medication that you have.
And a lot of these prices aren't for good reason. Like, yes, I understand the cost. It needs to cover the cost of the studies that were done to get this medication approved, the production. But if you look, for example, at some of the medications for tuberculosis, because as I mentioned before, I read that book, Everything is Tuberculosis. So I'm going to bring this up a lot. But some of the medications used to treat multi-drug resistant tuberculosis were extremely expensive. And where is multi-drug resistant tuberculosis mostly located? In places like Sierra Leone or other places that don't have
resources
to spend that much money for that drug. And then through advocacy groups, the drug company is pressured, then overnight the cost of the drug goes down.
Yep.
And the drug company didn't they're like, okay, they lower the price.
Then you have to think too, like medications here in the US versus Canada or Denmark or Sweden. Like if you ever looked at the price of Ozempic in Denmark, which is where it's made, Novo Nordisk is located, versus the price of Ozempic here, you're looking at about over $1,000 a month here, and over there it's $28. So it's, and you can say, oh, well, shipping it over. Yeah, 28 to 1,000, 28 to 1,000, guy. That doesn't make sense, right? Now, then you can wonder how many people from Denmark are on Ozempic. Not a lot. And then how many people from here are on Ozempic? A lot. Now, you can start saying then what? They're price gouging us and all this stuff, and the government should step in and do price controls. That's going to create more problems as well when you start price controlling the market, which, newsflash, you have examples of that all over the place. When communist and socialist governments start controlling prices, what starts to happen to their economies and that sort of thing. So the way we come at this is, we don't necessarily need the government to get in there and try to legislate everything into existence so that the prices are quote unquote fair, because these $1 trillion companies are going to figure out another way to screw you over. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
You're going to create more problems than you're going to solve by start instituting price control. So you know what the best price control is for a lot of this stuff? Don't be on it. Take care of your health. Don't let yourself fall. Like, that's where my mind always goes to. I wouldn't have to worry about the price of medications if I took care of myself and fought like hell to not have the need to recur to these medications. Insulin is this much. Okay, that's sad. If somebody's diabetic and they, type 1 diabetics, we feel for them because that's a sentence that they didn't ask for. You know what I mean? And obviously we need to advocate for them to have access and that sort of thing. But when you are controlling the system, because not that many people are going to need to partake in it, and these companies that manage these things and create these things won't have a choice but to lower the drugs because people are just not buying them like that. You know what I mean? So it's something that we need to really think about when we address this situation. Moving forward on that, GM, General Motors, This is an example, and this is true for a lot of companies. They spend more money on healthcare than they do on steel to make cars.
Yep.
You're looking at $1,200 of every vehicle that GM sells goes to pay for healthcare for their employees.
Yeah.
Okay, so you buy a $30,000 truck, that's too cheap. $50,000 truck, at least $1,200 from that sale are going to go to paying for healthcare costs. And then, this is true of every healthcare fund in a lot of companies. They were to the point where they're spending more on healthcare than they do on their products or their raw materials for what they offer or their infrastructure if they're a service-based company.
Okay. What was the stat that you told me about employers, healthcare employees, people?
Oh, so that's that. So I have it right
that
here.
Ties in.
The top employer in 39 states is healthcare. In the 90s, healthcare wasn't the top employer in anywhere, in any state. And now you have 39 states that their biggest source of employment is the healthcare industry.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy? So, and that, I think we've spoken to something to that before, where cancer specifically, you have double the amount of people working on cancer related stuff than you do cancer patients. It starts to get wild. Imagine if we solved cancer. That's a lot of people that are going to hit the unemployment line and a lot of money that isn't going to be made.
I wonder if works in healthcare, if that's just providers and nurses or does that include receptionists? And when I think of cancer, I think of like the clinical coordinators, which are invaluable in my opinion, because when somebody has a diagnosis of cancer, it's like you need a PET scan, you need a biopsy, you need to see this specialist, and having somebody who can help you coordinate and advocate for all, that's amazing. So.
Yeah. So, and when we say works in healthcare, we're talking anything from like custodians, the janitors, security guards, all the way to the doctors and the nurses.
So how is that bad? Because now you're giving a lot of people job opportunities.
No, of course we want people to be employed, but the level that this thing has grown to because of the amount of people that are sick, it's kind of concerning. And now we get into the things of incentives where you're producing that much money and that many people are employed off of this.
Yeah.
Is there an incentive to solve some of these problems when you've created a very robust industry?
Got it.
How robust of an industry is healthcare and managing illness and disease? It's the number one revenue generating industry in the US, okay? 18% of the GDP in 2021 was spent on healthcare. 18% of the gross domestic product for this country, which is the wealthiest. We're the wealthiest country on earth. But, we could start talking about Dubai and Abu Dhabi and the Emirates and all these Qatar. They got a lot of money, y'all. But 18% of our GDP goes to healthcare. By comparison, food and agriculture is the next biggest expenditure GDP. Number 2 at 5.4%.
No.
Food and agriculture, y'all. I'm pretty sure we need food. 100% of us need food. Not 100% of us need medications and medical services, but 100% of us
not if you're on a GLP.
Need food. Well, true that. Good point. But it's 5.4% food and agriculture, from 18 on healthcare to 5. Look at that drop off. I could be like, okay, 18% on healthcare, and then we're at like 15% on food. It's still concerning, but that drop off is crazy. And then we spent 3% on defense, which is, we spend the most on defense, supposedly, allegedly, in the world at 3% of the GDP. I think that there's some people out there that spend a little bit more than us, but they're fudging the numbers. You got to put a tinfoil hat on for that. China, yes, correct. And then tech, which is all the rage right now with AI and all this other stuff. Facebook, Meta, all these people. Tech is Silicon Valley is 0.3%. Think about the amount of money that Silicon Valley moves. 0.3% of the GDP. and compare that to healthcare at 18%. So, and this healthcare also includes the pharmaceutical companies. They fall under healthcare, even though you could call them sick care. 18% of the GDP. That's crazy number. And then here's the other concerning trend related into this. Families, it goes back to the bankruptcy thing. Families spend 11.6% of their income on healthcare versus 11.3 on food.
So not as a big drop off as I was expecting.
Yet. That's yet. Remember that's yet. But these numbers, as you can see, that kind of computes at the family level with the GDP level where it's 18-5. But you can see how these numbers are going, one's going up and the other one's going down, because the healthcare thing, just basic health insurance, even if you don't use it, it's going to be expensive. It's pretty expensive right now. And it's only going to get more expensive because the more people guys, think about it. How many doctors and nurses and stuff do we graduate a year? Not that many. There's a lot, but not enough to handle the waves and droves of people that need to see the doctor every month.
Yeah.
That need to see the doctor every week.
Yeah.
So
and there's a concern for, at least, I don't know if I have the most up-to-date information on that, but I know there was a concern for graduating physicians or advanced practitioners going into primary care, internal medicine, as opposed to specialties. Like more and more are going into specialties, which then feeds into not enough access to primary care. So somebody may be now going to a cardiologist for hypertension, which could be managed by primary care. And now instead of a general practitioner copay, you're paying a specialty copay. They're going to want to put you on a medication that they're contracted and they represent, which is a brand. So it just... Yeah.
Why are more and more people going into specialties and skipping over the primary care?
Well, as me being in primary care my whole career, I could easily increase my salary significantly if I went into a specialty.
Okay, there's that. So there's more money in specialties.
Yep.
Okay, and what else do you think it is?
Certain specialties won't have as demanding workload.
There you go.
Yeah.
So way more drama and workload in primary care, right? Because you're seeing everybody essentially, and it's all about that quick.
Yeah, because so if you think about, so for example, if you think of like a subspecialty of ortho, like a hand specialist, and you think of primary care, a hand specialist may see 20 to 30 patients a day because the patient walks in and they're like, they address from elbow to here, okay? Elbow to fingertips. How, like, whatever's going on in there, acute visits, very, very specific things they're doing. Whereas when a patient comes in to see me, I got their whole mind and body, okay? And so that doesn't even generate as high of a reimbursement because a specialist can reimburse at a higher rate, but yet my documentation has to be more extensive. My notes are longer, my visits are longer, and I don't get paid as much.
So you're doing more work and getting paid less.
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of you were like, okay, but that's like why you're so frustrated when you go to your primary care and you feel like it's just a mill. You only get a few minutes with them. Your visits are 10, 15, 20 minutes long.
Getting shorter, they're going to get shorter.
Yep. And you have to wait, and the primary care providers are burnt out because they're trying to see 20 to 30 patients a day, but dealing with all this stuff. And when you go in for a physical, you can't talk about anything else. That is because of reimbursement from insurance companies.
Yep. And then why they tell you when you go in and you're like, oh, I also have this. We're like, no, I need you to book a separate visit.
Yep. Can't talk about that at your physical. You need to book a separate visit because if you do, then I will charge you for this visit and insurance won't cover the physical for free. So.
Yep. So it is, you see where this is going. So we have a healthcare system that is quite overwhelmed. You know, a few years ago, we were talking about, we don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system. Guess what? Brosif, brotato chip, broham, we're already there.
Well, and they kicked the can down the road in regards to not wanting to overwhelm the healthcare system with the virus that shall not be named.
Yep.
making people stay at home, you know, isolating, things like that. Don't stay, quarantine. There we go. Don't overload the healthcare system. But now, because people did that, they gained weight. They developed an alcohol use disorder. Now they're depressed. Now they're anxious. Now
they get sick more often than they did a couple of years ago.
And now they're all going to the doctor's office, overwhelming the healthcare system.
Yep. and really, when you start looking at the trends in our health and in our all-cause mortality and all that stuff, it's going to happen anyway. Obesity rates are skyrocketing. Just diabetes, all these chronic illnesses, cardiovascular disease, just shooting through the roof, depression, anxiety. So these people are all going to show up to your local primary care clinic, and you're going to have less and less people going into primary care, as Janie just explained. So now guess what? It's not 15 minutes. We're going to go down to 10. And then eventually we're going to go down to 5. And then there are some people out there that I've heard on other podcasts and sort of thing where they describe this utopian model, this utopia of technology where you don't go to a primary care physician and be like, oh, we can free up the healthcare system because now you go to some AI kiosk and you tell them what symptoms you have. And then right then and there, the pharmacy gives you your prescription for what the AI said you have. Let's sit with that for 1 second here. What are you even talking about, bro? You imagine going to CVS or some of these places and you talk to a kiosk, oh, I have this and this and that. And the kiosk tells you, oh, it's this. And here you go, pick up your pills, 10 minutes. How inhuman, how cold, how just transactional, how puppy mill type of feeling is that?
Yeah.
That is wild, man. Whatever. If you think, oh no, that's highly efficient. I worry about you. I worry about you. And it just doesn't sound like something that me personally, that I or people that I love and care about, that I would want them to be a part of. Whatever, man. With your little technocratic future, whatever, we're going to fix everything with technology. Get out of here with that nonsense. So, 11.6 of their income. So what you're seeing is a trend where it's going like this. You're spending more and more money on healthcare, and then you're spending less and less money, or the healthcare is outspending the food.
Right, because the healthcare goes up. Does your salary go up?
Oh, hell no.
So then more money has to be allocated to healthcare. Where is it taking away from? Food, right? Cheaper food, which is going to be marketed to you as processed food. Cheap and easy.
Yep.
Cheap and easy. Yep. And now, because you've been relying on cheap and easy means to eat, you're going to utilize your healthcare more.
Yep. And then you're caught up in the vicious cycle.
Yes.
It's insane. I think we need the solution here. I mean, at least me looking at it here from my Monday quarterback type of thing. We need to get less and less people to be as reliant on healthcare, to where you go for your yearly checkup because you feel pretty good the rest of the year. So you're just going to kick the tires at the doctor, be like, hey, let me get some blood work.
Yeah. Let
me get a little physical, my yearly physical, boom, 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 and I'm out of there. Because guess what? I might have caught a cold in the winter, but I was fine. I generally, I ate something. I ate some oysters or something, and I caught a case of the freaking sit on the toilets for a number of hours, but I've been generally fine for most of the year because I take care of myself. I'm very proactive in taking care of myself. That's what we want to get people to. So I'm just going in to kick the tires with the doctor, not go in and be like, doctor, I got this, I got that. This medication gave me this, so I need to change this medication. And now I'm there and I need to be back next week for this other thing, blah, 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 blah. And then the more people we get on that wagon where you're taking care of yourself and you don't need that many medical services, then the people that are really sick, elderly people type of thing, and they'll probably, if they took care of themselves, they probably won't have to go to the doctor as much. So now the doctor's offices start clearing up. Hey, guess what happens with that?
Or the doctor's offices, yes, they start clearing up. So then when people do have an acute issue,
You can get all the
you
attention.
can get, boom, you can go in and you're not having to be squeezed in on a last minute in between other things. And you said something, oh, I wish health insurances were more a la carte. As I like having insurance because, like, thank God I had insurance when I was diagnosed with melanoma, because that's like, I reached my deductible at the surgery. You know, I looked at the price comparison of what I would have had to pay without, and it was significant. So thankful for
And
it.
we can talk about that for another day. We'll talk about, hey, why are all these
Yeah.
services so crazy? But
However, so with health insurance premiums, I would love to not pay for prescription coverage. But that's part of it. And I'm sure that drives up the cost pretty significantly. Why? Because I mean, I have no problem paying out of pocket for acute things like if I get a bacterial infection and I need an antibiotic cream or antibiotics, or if I get, I don't know, something. I don't know.
yeah,
I
like
can't think
acute.
of what I would need.
I don't know. Let's say you get, an orthopedic injury doing jujitsu or something like that.
Yeah, if I need to get an X-ray, if I need to see a specialist and get a cast, thank you insurance helping me out there. I don't need year-round coverage for medications I don't ever want to take and I don't plan on taking. Now I understand, like, well, what if? Okay, well then I'll cross that bridge when I get there, because there's open enrollment. It comes back every year. I can change it. Great.
Yeah. There's people out there, and guys, listen, if you're listening to this and you know somebody who's involved in health insurance, and we'd love to have these conversations in depth about health insurance prices and coverages.
I'm sure there's a lot that
and all this
we're
stuff.
missing here.
Yeah, don't send me some friggin' Cigna rep though. Let me get somebody who's out there like slang it and bang it and helping people save money. Like there are these people that deal directly with the company and they put companies in touch with providers in their local area, and they end up saving the companies millions of dollars in healthcare costs because they did, they're taking out the middlemen, they're eliminating the pharmacy benefit managers.
Where that guy was on there?
He was on Power Athlete, and then Rogan had a similar guy that talked about this, that's his whole thing. It's eliminating the middleman, puts companies in touch.
Maybe I'll reach out to him
with local. I also have a former client of mine who did very well, like Greenwich, Connecticut, doing this very thing, taking out middlemen and dealing directly with hospitals and local companies and local healthcare providers. And, that's great. You save people a bunch of money. All these blue collar workers can actually afford health insurance. The company's saving a bunch of dollars. People are getting the treatments that they need. Good for you, man. You did something good. Hey, make all the money you want on that one.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because you actually helped people.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, we'd love to talk to somebody like that and get really in depth. Me personally, I'm 42 years old. I've only purchased insurance 2 times because I had a regular job. For the majority of my adult life where I needed insurance, the Army took care of that. Thank you, TRICARE. And now I'm in the VA, and I don't go see the doctor really ever. So I don't know how it works. I don't really know how this stuff works.
He just freeloads off of me. No, I'm kidding.
I just know it's expensive. I hear people complaining about it. I'm like, listen, I just go to the VA. Is it great care? No, it's socialized medicine. So it isn't great, but it's there. And I don't really need it. I'm thinking more like orthopedic injuries, that sort of thing. Maybe kick the tires every now and then. Like this year, I wanted some blood work, extensive blood work. Hey, let me go to the VA, get my put in for some blood work, a sleep study, whatever. That's it. I don't need your medications. I don't need your procedures. I don't need to go see your specialist. None of that. I feel awesome. So give me the blood work so I can read it myself and be like, I need to change something here and here and here. I don't like where my A1C is at, whatever. Liver function, and we figure that out. I don't need you for anything else. If I could take my own blood, I would. And if I had my own lab, I would do that. I'd rather, but hey, that's the way it is. But how do we the thing is, we're trying to get people there. The more people we get there, where you go just to kick the tires with the doctor, the more you can free up space for people that actually need it. And this starts to bring the cost of healthcare down. If you're a type of person that believes in universal healthcare, then again, this is the way. If you're the type of person that doesn't and believe in fully privatized medicine because it's better and you get better access to services, again, this is the way because you can keep the price down. So wherever you're at in this issue, we need to come together on this. We need to hold hands because everybody wants cheaper healthcare with more access, right?
Yep.
Okay, glad we can agree on that in this age where everybody's slanging feces at each other because they believe in this and you believe in that. It's crazy out there, but we're here to unite over the topic of health. Okay. We went into that one. Moving on. Let's talk here for a second. We saw this thing. We never talk about working out anymore, really. We need to do some working out topics.
I understand. Okay, yeah.
Let's talk about this newsletter we saw a few weeks ago from another health company where they're basically addressing women ages 45 to 60 and kind of telling them, this was sent to us by a friend, client, whatever we want to call them, as like, hey, thoughts on this? Basically telling women 45 to 60 that they need to stop it with the zone 2 type thing. Like, hey, zone 2 isn't the answer. Zone 2 cardio, meaning long, slow duration cardiovascular activity, aerobic base activity, that sort of thing. That's the terminology for the so-called zone 2 cardio. Think of walking on an uphill treadmill for 30 to 40 minutes or Stairmaster or outside brisk walk outside. The weighted vest walking is getting really popular, that sort of thing. And they said, nah, that stuff doesn't work for you. You need higher intensity stuff. You need to lift heavy, 5 by 5 of everything, 5 sets of 5 of everything, 5 exercises, 5 sets, 5 reps per. What else was on there? There was something else on there.
I just remember the moderate to high intensity.
Yeah, moderate to high intensity. You're saying you need to be in 3 and 4, zone 3 and 4. And then I'm sure by now a lot of people know about zone 1, zone 2, the zones 1 through 5 of cardio. That is very layman's terminology for it. A lot of people are getting really hokey with it and they've done away with the zone 2, zone 3 type stuff. But it's general, it's very layman. So we like to talk about it in zone 2, zone 3. So you start getting into zone 3, it's like shorter workouts, but it's holding a higher intensity for longer. Think of it like a mile run or a 2-mile run, that sort of thing. Or one of these CrossFit workouts where you're doing, 10 minutes of just burning it down. And then if you get into zone 4 and 5, then you're talking about doing like a 20-second burst of something and feeling like you're going to die and then resting 20 and then going again where you're keeping the heart rate really high with short duration and then short rest periods. And that was their recommendation. So we're like, I immediately had a episode of wanting to punch the air because they targeted this very specifically to women of 45 to 60 years old. Now, right off the bat, I could tell you that if we were to talk about stress and stress management, I would say the most stressed out demographic on average in this country is the 45 to 60-year-old woman. Would I be wrong to say that?
No, and I think you could even broaden the age range on that to lower.
Lower, like 35, 30 to 30 to 60. Okay, so most women are going to be highly stressed. Okay?
And if you're highly stressed, you're likely depleted of minerals.
So we're looking at motherhood, worrying about other people. You're
being
looking
a wife.
Being a girl. You acting like being married to me is this girl. You know what? I caught that.
I should put being married to you on my CV.
You know what's funny? I warned her when we got together. I told her, like, listen, I'm an independent man. I'm a strong, independent man that don't need no woman. But I told her, it's like, listen, men, when they start getting married and things just start happening. It's like a chemical reaction, and things just start getting a little weird for men. Like we just, I used to do all my laundry. Now for some reason, I don't know how to do laundry anymore. I used to cook all my meals. I'm still cooking a lot, but it just, things happen. Okay, guys, we start forgetting more stuff. That's what marriage does to men.
The example I love to give is, like, as we mentioned, we got a new dog, and either Rolo peed in retaliation or she peed. I think she peed. But Dan I was already in bed. He's like, Janie. And I'm like, what? He's like, someone peed. And I was like, okay. He's like, how do I clean it up? What do you mean? How do you clean it up? What? I had to get out of bed. And tell him, start by putting a paper towel to absorb the liquid.
You know what? You know what's funny? I'm an understanding dude. So she was in bed reading, and I was still up because it was Friday night, and I usually I season meat for that we're gonna eat Saturday night dinner, or it was Friday night. This was yesterday. It's Saturday today. So the meat that we're gonna eat tonight for dinner, I'm usually chopping it up, throwing it in bowls, seasoning so that it's ready for Saturday. I could just throw it and cook it on the cast iron. So I'm working, okay? I'm taking care of my woman because I'm going to feed her this feast on Saturday night. And I'm prepping for it. So I'm usually up later. And then I turned around and saw the pee, and I could just imagine because she's in the reading and she's got the dim light. She's ready to go to bed. And I just opened the door. Jane, there's pee on the floor. That's kind of like a child. That's like a kid coming to mom in the middle of the night, like, Mom, I peed the bed type of thing. I get it. I just needed your advice. I cleaned it up, but I needed your advice. Be like, hey, what's the best way to clean this pee off the floor?
Yeah.
Because you did it already. So
back to why women are so stressed.
Exactly. So this is the most stressed out. And I'm a considerate dude. I can only imagine these women that are married to man-childs that want to play video games all the time and sit on their butts and their 40. I can only imagine how bad they have it. And then these ladies that have to take care of their man-child, they have to take care of actual children, and they have jobs probably, and they want to video games health.
Yeah.
And they're stressed out. On top of that, what else do we know to be true about women from that demographic? Another reason why they're stressed out.
Way.
Underfed.
Oh,
We're talking about
overtraining,
overtrained,
especially when you get into the late 40s, 50s, hormonal changes are starting to happen. Yep. So I recently had blood work done, and I rely on my thyroid a lot for an emotional support gland. It's not happy with me right now. I'm likely, and I'm sure my friends Danielle and Laura will be like, duh, but I'm likely DTMing, doing too much, okay? And not feeding myself appropriately. My thyroid's it's not abnormal, but it's not optimal. And I'm Janie Brown. I'm optimal, okay? So, and then some of my hormones are like, girl, sit down. So I need to look at how I'm handling my stress, not just mental stress. Yes, that too, but also physical stress. Am I nourishing my body appropriately? But why I said this is because a lot of women, I'm 40, but say that this is the same blood work when I'm 46, 7, 8, and they may say perimenopause, slap hormones on me. I'm advocating for hormones for women. Yes, 100%. However, how many people are being put on hormones when they really need to be told, maybe you need to optimize your workouts to where they're building you up, not tearing you down, and nourishing yourself appropriately to support your workouts, taking care of your kids, taking care of your husband, taking care of work, yourself. There's a lot of stuff that's missing for women this demographic.
Instead of eating 3 ounces of lean turkey and 2 celery sticks, you should probably be eating a ribeye with some potatoes and something like that. That's what I'm talking about. So
potatoes.
That's what I'm saying. You probably should be eating some potatoes. It's when I look at that demographic that they were targeting with the newsletter, I'm like, okay, you're talking about the most stressed, underfed, especially as you get over 40s and you grew up in the 90s with the BS in Vogue and Cosmopolitan and all this BS that we fed women in the 80s and the 90s.
Where's your thigh gap? I haven't seen between there's no gap between my thighs since I was 15.
You've been starting fires with your thighs since you were 15. There you go. So, but hey, thick thighs save lives, guys. Remember that. And so anyway, you start looking at this demographic, all the environmentals of it, and then you're going to tell them to forgo zone 2 cardio for some higher intensity modalities and some, 5x5x5 type lifting.
Let's just add more stress.
Let's just add more stress. Now, here's the thing. I like the 5x5. I like that. You know what? I like that. I like the heavy lifting. Love it. Love it. We could do it better than that. We could do it better than that. I think 5 exercises in a session's pretty good, but do they all need to be 5x5 at that super high intensity? No, you're probably looking like you need one big lift. Like, let's say you're going to squat a 5x5 and push it there, and then you go to smaller lifts that are less systemically demanding than a big deadlift or a big squat. Now we start doing some lunges or something. We might raise the reps on that a little bit, depending on where you're at. If you're super stressed, maybe we keep it at 5, but I'm not gonna have you do 5 sets of it. Maybe we do 2, maybe we do 3 sets of really hard work with that. And now less systemically demanding lifting. So you see as the workout progresses, you place a big demand here, and then you turn it into smaller movements that are less demanding on your nervous system, so that you're not just killing your freaking nervous system with, I'm going to deadlift a 5x5, I'm going to squat a 5x5, I'm going to bench a 5x5 in the same workout.
Yeah.
So that you're not frying it. And then I'm going to go do some HIIT because these guys in the newsletter told me to.
Yeah.
The F. I'm trying not to cuss, guys. I'm trying to be a better person now. The F are you talking about, guys? What are you doing to 45 to 60-year-old women? And then zone 2? Like, we know what the benefits of getting as close to 10,000 steps a day consistently brings to you. This blood sugar regulation, weight management, like this increased low-level activity really is the ticket, because you could go and burn it down on one of these workouts, and then you sit on your butt because you're worn out because you haven't eaten enough. You're dealing with kids, dealing with husband, dealing with work. And now you're like this, like, ugh, like you got zapped.
Yeah.
And now where your 10,000 steps at?
Yeah,
You sat at work all day, so now you have to put all your energy into recovering from this workout, and there's going to go your sleep. Lord knows you didn't eat enough protein or you didn't eat enough calories to not only sustain the stress you're going under, but to deal with the workout and recover from that. So where are we putting these women at now?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the whole thing that I personally love about zone 2 is that you couple that with trying to optimize your nasal breathing and the duration of which you can do that while maintaining zone 2. So now I've increased my time in the parasympathetic state, and I've increased
What's the parasympathetic state for the layman?
the rest and digest.
There you go. And then as sympathetic, the fight and flight system.
So now I can have a bigger capacity to do work and keep my heart rate down, not completely stress my body before I flip over into that super high intensity. So we're expanding our base, which I think is a huge, huge benefit.
Not only that, you're always working on that base. Even when you get to a point where you feel like you're pretty well conditioned and your aerobic capacity, your cardiovascular capacity is in a good point, you're always touching up on it because it's easy to lose, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make a habit of this zone 2 stuff. I think people, the conversation shifted into zone 2 and a lot of people were proponing it. And then there's people that are trying to make themselves different. So they're poo-pooing on the zone 2 when it's like, brother, that's where it's built.
Yeah. So, and I think there is some benefit to high intensity, but it needs to be true high intensity. Like Dan mentioned, 20-second bursts.
10,
and so
15.
especially for women in their 40s, 50s, there's a lot of benefits of doing it one time a week. One time a week.
Even one time a week, guys. Listen to that. One time a week of a HIIT workout, a true HIIT workout. We're talking 15, 20-second bursts, maybe less, 10 seconds, depending on how strong and powerful you are, because I'm going to talk about that here in a second. And then you rest 30, 40, 50 seconds.
Yeah, I did. What did I do? I did 15 seconds on, a minute off. On the assault bike, 15 seconds all out, a minute rest, 10 rounds a couple weekends ago. And I felt great afterward. Like right afterwards, I was like, oh, it sucks. But a few hours afterwards, I was like, I feel great. It wasn't too much. I felt at the time, I kind of had that temptation. I was like, I can do 12 rounds. But I stopped. Because really 10 is probably all you need.
And here's the thing.
You can start at less though if you're not there.
Here's the thing. To be able to do that, to be able to do your one hit workout a week where you now that's another level, right? We don't start there. You just showed up to the gym for the first time. Hey, I heard this lifting weights thing was really good for me and doing some cardio was really good for me. I'm here. Let's do it. Oh, 15 on, 20 seconds off, let's go. No, you don't start there. If you want that type of output and you want to add, you really want to do some HIIT training, we got to go back to zone 2. We got to build the base first, right?
Yeah.
We got to get you strong enough to be able to have outputs that matter when you're doing HIIT. You know, because what you find when people that start there, they can't really do the work because they don't have the capacity to put out into the fifth. So they kind of look at it and be like, oh, what did I do? Because, you know, their
That's a good
output
point.
is too low.
Yeah.
So you need to build a foundation of strength and aerobic capacity. So guess what we need for that? It's
Lift
like
weights.
the Thanos meme. We come right back to me, zone 2 cardio and weight training.
Well, I think the biggest thing with what I got from this email is they were like, moderate to high intensity, zone 2's bad, where there's no absolutes in this. Everybody's different. Everybody's starting from a different place, like Dan said. So for some people, zone 2 may be exactly what they need right now because they hate their job. They're stressed out. They're not eating enough. So they need to do more low intensity stuff to kind of keep them moving and to build a base as we start to optimize these other things.
Even zone 2 in a little bodybuilding workout that is machine based, full body type thing 2 times a week might be where you're at right now.
Yeah.
But you're lifting weights and you're working on your aerobic capacity.
Yeah. And other people, their zone 2 may be great, and now they want to add in more power output, stuff like the higher intensity things, but they're fueling themselves adequate. So everybody's different. I dislike when I get emails like that and they're like, this is great for all women. Stop doing this.
Yep.
Not all women are the same. Not all women enjoy the same things. And then we get this, like the client who sent it to us, she's trying to fit herself into a box that, to be completely honest, she can't be in right now. And so we need to stop with these absolutes and look at the person and understand what would likely benefit them in their chapter of life. And also, what do they enjoy doing? Because then that's going to help them be consistent. And then we see most success with consistency.
Yep. And here's the thing too. And you know, as we close this out, chances
don't
are,
move it away from you.
because
You're trying to like, okay, I'm going to make a big point.
Yeah, I was gonna sit up and address the people directly in the camera, you know, with my hand motions, my Puerto Rican hand motions. I was gonna get real serious and knife hand them like this. But anyway, what I want to say, you're underfed. Okay, most of these women are underfed. They think they're eating enough. But your mother that told you were gaining weight when you really weren't, when you were 13, is still in your head.
Here's a snack of 2 almonds.
Exactly. Here's a snack of 2 almonds. And, I just eat a cheese cube when I'm, you know, your mother's still in your head with her 1980s advice. The Cosmo magazines are still in your head. You know, all the BS that they fed us up until recently, and even they're still feeding us now, are in your head. So you think you're eating enough, you think you're doing the right thing, but there's always refinement. You're probably not eating enough. I'll tell you that. If I had to throw a bet, had to throw a dart at it, had to put money down on it, you're not eating enough. I don't care. You might be eating the right stuff, like, I'm eating protein and I'm eating these fats and but you're not eating enough of it. We'll go there. You're not there. You're just not there to be able to do this HIIT stuff and this type of listen.
I did it before.
But I did it before. Here's another thing that I need to say about building aerobic basis. A lot of people, especially with CrossFit and all these HIIT modalities, they've built a high capacity for suffering, meaning they can sustain high intensities and suffer through a workout for a prolonged period of time.
At what cost?
At what cost? But their aerobic base is trash. Mm-hmm. How do you know your aerobic base is trash? Right here, this guy. I could max my Army PT test, run 2 miles in 12 minutes. I mean, that's not as fast, but it's over 100%. It's above average military fitness to do a 12-minute 2 mile. Above average. If you get under 13, that's 100%. So if when you're in the 12s, you're past the 100% on that test.
Did you guys get that was past 100%,
Past the 100%.
above average?
Yes. This guy right here. So anyway, but my breathing was all messed up. So a couple of years ago, when I started getting into the breathing, reading the oxygen advantage and that sort of thing, I had to backtrack into the zone 2 to actually build an aerobic base that matters. How do you know your aerobic base is messed up? Here's one way to know. If I get on there and I'm at a fairly low intensity, I'm just warming up, but I'm already breathing through my mouth, that's how you know. You shifted gears way too soon. You're operating in 5th gear, even though you're working at 1st gear.
Yep.
So we need to revamp that by learning how to do work with your mouth closed, breathing through your nose, and now you're actually working on building an aerobic base. The other way, people, if you think of it like a pyramid, where your mouth breathing already, your zone 1 is very small, 2 very small. So your base is small and you're operating in the red more than you have to. What does that lead to? A more stressed out system in return, which is, hey, we want to stress with the workouts, but I don't want to annihilate you, okay? Stimulate, don't annihilate.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with that, but that's bars.
Yeah, you
okay?
want to stress to drive adaptation. You don't want to stress to deplete. Lay on the ground.
Exactly.
You're not adapt. So what does this look like bodily? I work out all the time, but I don't look like I do.
Yep. You're holding on to weight, even though you're putting in all sorts of grindy workouts in.
Yeah. And so
your sleep is compromised.
Yes. And then, well, under eating is going to compromise sleep.
And then you're going to add these crazy workouts.
And then you're more stressed. Yeah. You feel good because you're addicted to that adrenaline because it distracts you from all the things you hate for a little bit. That's a little trauma thing. So I want to wrap this up with.
Oh, before you do, another sign of you're doing too much, stress out, mobility starts going away and you feel like you need a lot of stretching and stuff because your joints start tightening up when you're too stressed. Remember that. Okay?
Yeah. It takes you longer to warm up.
Takes you longer to warm up. You always feel stiff and achy. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead, wrap it up.
So what I want to pay attention to, especially for women, is a couple things because Dan was like, you're under eating. 2 components of the under eating that need to be addressed. I understand when Dan's like, you still have your mother in your head. You still have the Cosmo magazines in your head. Get with a behavioral health specialist and or dietitian because you need to work on your relationship with your food. I've been there. I understand it. It is a world of help when you start to revamp your thoughts around food. It's not a transaction. Guess what, women? I love you. You can eat even if you don't work out. You're allowed. A lot of women they get rigid with their eating if they're not working out because they don't deserve food. You do, okay? But it's not as easy as Dan saying, you need to eat more. It's way more involved with that. That's where a dietitian with experience with that is helpful or a behavioral health therapist. If you need direction to either of those, I got you. Yeah. The other thing is if you're not eating enough and you're really stressed out, I've talked about this before, we burn magnesium through all forms of stress, even perceived stress, even if you think something's going to be stressful. Say you think you're going to hit traffic on the way to work, but it was a smooth sailing. Guess what? You burn magnesium because you thought it was going to be stressful. So we're depleted in minerals. Yes, probably because you're not getting a lot of it through food, but this is where talking to somebody who's educated, myself, I can point you to my friend Laura is the mineral queen. Ways to test, assess, and optimize your minerals through food, supplements, an adrenal or mineral cocktail, all these things to replete that so you feel better and then you're able to tackle all your days. There's so much the body utilizes for our days to days that I don't think that we address. And then we can talk about the quality of the food, the decreased mineral content of our soil and all of that. It is worth looking into.
Yeah, so. I think this is, I always say this, women are like, Formula One cars with all the hormones and all the stuff. If the wind ain't blowing right, your hormones are going to get thrown off. And it's a very sensitive, delicate balance. And there's a lot of levers to pull from in women. Men, it's just like, bro, hit this ribeye, sit in the sun for 2 minutes, come back in, boom, it's done. You're a Honda Civic. You know what I'm saying? Lift these weights, cowboy up, and let's go. Drink more water, let's go. So, but women, there's a lot that goes into it. So to think that you have it figured out without some coaching or without some help, or that you're not going to be fine tuning and trial and erroring a lot is crazy, ladies. It's just crazy. Okay, because you are complex organisms.
And it's okay that we're complex. It's not bad.
Yep.
It's just we need to get our mind around the fact that we need to look at us a different way, and we're worth looking at a different way because evolutionarily, our brains were wired to think like this. The stuff that I was like, Dan was saying that I'm being motherly with the dogs. I think about way more than he does with the dogs. It's just the nature of male versus female. I'm sorry, it is. Because you're just like, are they fed?
Attacked.
Did they poop? Are they good? And I'm like, did she like her food? Did she poop okay? Like, what am I going to do tomorrow with her poop schedule? Is she on sync with Rolo? Like, all, it's our thought processes are different and for good reason. Instead of fighting it or thinking we're wrong, let's honor it because there is value to it, but also let's support it, which may take a little bit more work than conventional medicine allows, but it's worth it.
And here's what I'll close with. This is a thought that always blows my mind, and it makes me want to do a little break dance while I'm punching the air type of thing. Imagine somebody tells you, hey, you're eating, 1,000 calories a day. Actually, you need to eat 800. So just eat lettuce from now on, and don't get romaine, get the iceberg lettuce, and that's all you're eating, okay? Because we need to drop your calories. And you're like, okay. You're listening, you're paying attention to that, and you're willing to go there. And somebody comes in and is like, ooh, girl, I think you need to eat some steak. We need to add some potatoes in here because we're not eating enough. So somebody's giving you, saying you need more food. And you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. You need more nutrients. Nah, I don't want to do that. They have a hard time listening to that. I'm like, but the person turns around and tells them, nah, drop your calories even more. And you're like, yeah. That sounds like the solution. You see how ridiculous that sounds? Ladies, come on now. Get on this bandwagon. Let's get this steak. Let's get this zone 2 cardio. Let's get these intelligent weightlifting programs, okay? Don't worry. You need to build a foundation. So don't worry about these ultra complex freaking modalities, the HIIT and the BS, because you're going to burn more fat or whatever. Don't worry about that trash right now. Let's hit these basics hard.
Let's build your foundation.
Hard. Let's build the foundation. And if a year from now, when you're feeling really good and you're stronger and your body composition starts to change because we've minimized the amount of stress on your system, and we've been consistent with these basics. You feel like you want to start doing some crazy HIIT stuff because you're like, you know what? I want to level it up. I earned the next level of this fitness evolution. Then we do it in a way that it's not going to hurt your progress. Why? Because you managed it intelligently.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
With that in mind, if you have any questions, guys, you know where to find us. AchieveTheLifestyle.com, info@AchieveTheLifestyle.com, or at AchieveTheLifestyle on Instagram. And with that, I want to always remind you.
Stay pharma free.
Thank you, Janie. Okay, we're out. Thanks for listening to the PharmaPhobic podcast. If you found this conversation interesting, which I know you did, make sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure to check us out on Instagram @AchieveTheLifestyle. And if you're interested in pursuing a stronger, healthier, more capable version of yourself, check out our website at AchieveTheLifestyle.com.
The PharmaPhobic podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not constitute medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider before making any medical or wellness decisions. While we discuss pharmaceutical, holistic, and alternative health topics, our content is not a substitute for professional medical guidance.